So we've said that POLYCARP IGATHE, who got stuck in traffic, that has now arrived.
He's now unstuck.
He's now unstuck. Now here. Before we introduce him and say hello to him, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
Yes, it's the last proverb from the country of Benin. Misfortune that comes to town does not wear a turban.
Misfortune that comes to town
Doesn't wear a turban.
does not wear a turban.
Doesn't wear anything distinguishing, anything unique, anything that would make it a clear identifier. Yes.
You cannot tell that this is a visitor.
No, you will not tell, but you will experience it in the quiet by and by.
It will be nguoni mwako. It will be a kikulacho. POLYCARP IGATHE. Apologize to the country.
A very big apology, and please accept my apology. I got held up in city center, and the transport and traffic, which is a job I'm starting to look for to fix, caught up with me. But it's because there's construction going on. I sincere apologies for coming late.
It's okay.
And a good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room. That is the hot seat. It's hotter than the seat that you're seeking, actually. But this is only for 1 hour. Can you imagine if it was for 5 years? But we're going to make it a comfortable one for you.
Thank you.
POLYCARP, very many things that you are. First, I interacted with POLYCARP IGATHE. He was selling beverages, non-alcoholic kind, then into alcoholic kind. Then he's moved into that. He has sold me big biros and other stuff. He has sold me petroleum products. He has sold me banking products. He has sold me dreams and ambitions for the city. Very, very many things that you've done.
I've been lucky in my life to be versatile, and I think that's what we are called upon to do. But if you look at the thread of it, it has all been service, especially service to the public. I've really just been involved in products and services that go to the mass consumer, into the households. Primarily products you find in the kitchen and the bathroom. That's really what I've dealt with. And if you think about it, life is about the kitchen and the bathroom. Eating and then being healthy. Thank you.
You know, when we invited you to come, we pegged this conversation to be on one topic: the chosen one or strategic disruptor. So we are getting close to the point when political parties are about to finalize their nomination process. There are other candidates who've been on this particular journey for a while. They came out a long time ago. They said, I'd like to be the next governor of Nairobi. Others have gone out full hog on communication, meeting the people, having the conversations openly and saying, I want to be, until POLYCARP IGATHE then comes in yesterday on the 19th. It's like you're just going to file your returns with KRA and then you you join the race. 19th of April, POLYCARP IGATHE joins this. The headlines are saying that there was a meeting taking place in State House, negotiations back and forth. What's the truth? What made you declare you want to be governor this time?
I declared I want to be governor, and I want to be in the governor's seat back in 2017 when I ran for the seat of deputy governor of Nairobi City County. I stepped down from a chief executive role of Vivo Energy then. I'm now stepping down from a group chief commercial officer role to come back and finish what I started. You know what they say? Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Timing is everything. And our constitution has stipulated it, that campaign time, there's a real timetable to campaigns. There's no need of starting to talk about elections and campaigning when it's not campaign time. And I think Kenyans are generally frustrated. Wherever you go, you just find this conversation about politics is exasperating, because we are politicking from morning till evening. So when you start your campaigns in January and it's out of calendar, it's basically like wearing clothes that are out of fashion, or music that's out of league. So this is the season. So am I the chosen one? I hope I'm the chosen one by the people of Nairobi. I am nobody's project. I don't know. People are talking about meetings that were held. The only meetings I've had is with business people, residents associations, women, youth, business groups. Have been very quietly consulting. And if you go around Nairobi, you'll see my party. I even asked my party, you'll see billboards saying Nairobi mwataka nini. That's a conversation I've been involved in the last 14 days. Until I got the confidence that I'm not imposing myself on the people. People are actually hungry for leadership. People are hungry for competent leadership, not just leadership, but competent. For far too long, important responsibilities, especially in political sphere, is being given to confident people. It is now time for them to yield to competent people.
It's confident versus competence. Very well said, POLYCARP, but I just want to come back onto that point. I mean, yes, there's a constitutionally mandated time to start campaigning, but also there's a constitutionally mandated time for political parties to choose their candidates. It has been known. Why do you decide to throw your hat in the ring for the Jubilee ticket just a few days before Jubilee has to make that decision? Why not give Jubilee leadership, Jubilee members an opportunity, ample time, a month or two, for them to resonate with the idea that POLYCARP IGATHE could be a suitable candidate?
I think Jubilee followers, true Jubilee followers, know I've been in the race. And that conversation has been going on to the point where they got so frustrated they decided that I've been employed by another oil company recently called Rubies. So that conversation has been going on in the party. And I'm not a new person in politics. I'm not a new person in leadership. That conversation has been going on. What I have done is to pronounce that I'm a candidate with my mouth, not other people pronouncing it for me.
So are you saying that you've been strategic?
Thank you. I welcome that. I've been strategic. And strategy is born of nature. The sun rises at a certain time, sets at a certain time. And you can't blame somebody for showing up. And what is the right time? What is the spot on time? I just believe it's God's own time. And I come to serve. I really come to serve. I seek employment as governor of the city county of Nairobi.
Okay, I need you to clear the air as well. This is about being very clear. The headline in The Nation this morning: it's IGATHE and Wanyonyi for Nairobi race. We will talk about your choice of running mates, whether it's yours or not. State House brokers deal clearing the way for former Nairobi Deputy Governor POLYCARP IGATHE to be named the Azimio One Kenya candidate for the city gubernatorial race, with Tim Wanyonyi as his running mate. State House brokers deal. True or not?
Our party leader sits in State House. He's the president of the Republic of Kenya, the party leader of Jubilee. So for sure, there's conversations that are taking place at the leadership level about the city county of Nairobi, 40% of Kenya's GDP, right? But that party leader has also heard the resounding, thunderous demand for a competent executive to run Nairobi City County. Not from him. Uhuru is the biggest. Uhuru and Raila and every person who seeks leadership, they're the biggest listeners to what we call the ground. And the ground is saying, this city actually does not... In fact, you even had people saying, we don't need to elect the governor of Nairobi. This should be an executive role. And that conversation has been happening on the ground. And therefore, my candidature, I don't have a ticket. You see, I'm pushing for the ticket. And my appearance here is to say I'm one of the contestants, and I have been one of the contestants amongst other esteemed competitors who are also members of the same party. So I'm not I'm not a trophy candidate. I'm a candidate of the people of Nairobi. And remember, even in the Jubilee Party, the last time, the two jubilants, the three jubilants who brought the biggest votes to Jubilee was Uhuru Kenyatta. Then after that, it was myself and the governor then of Nairobi. We almost close to 852,000 votes. That's what we did. So you're not really talking to novices. You're talking to people who know how politics is done. And I think it's naive to start campaigning over Christmas last year before the time is ripe. Actually, it's annoying people. People are doing what they have to do. Politics should be a short, sharp blitzkrieg season. And that's what I have come for.
What you are telling, Laban, you seem to want to ask something.
No worries. POLYCARP, good to see you again. I think in my previous life, I've interviewed you as a business professional. And I think it's an opportune time. I'm a guest host, I think, on Spice today. And the conversation the question I've been dying to ask you is that bit about the transition. And I'll speak on my days as a business journalist, and you coming in as a professional, as a business professional, accomplished, then diving into politics, and your success, you're trying to replicate it into politics. And here I refer you to your interview yesterday with our colleague Sophia Wanuna, where he said, well, the job initially wasn't as you thought, where you jump in and say, okay, wait a minute, I got to know of appointments on the press, on the newspaper, such as you, and I'm actually a deputy governor. So speak onto that transition, and also, do you still want to find out news,
The reality of a political job.
So what I'm saying is, nobody knows the problem of Nairobi as close as I do. My first stint
Yeah.
in politics,
Yeah.
I graduated from the Institute of Advanced Hindsight. Right? I went in
Yes.
and saw what I saw.
Yeah.
And you, all three of us here sitting in this show, you even saw the national government itself. We had the National Metropolitan Service had to come into place. So time has vindicated what I saw. And even when I left with peace, because I did not want to interfere
Yeah.
with the process, because
Yeah.
the political process is born of Article 1. Forget about all other articles in the Constitution.
Yeah.
Article 1, power is with the people. So when the people have chosen, I can't then be the one who throwing spanners in the works. And you can see the information I also provided to my party to fix things is what also brought NMS.
Yeah.
I did not have to do that in public. There's a lot of things I did quietly. The best work in life is done in silence. Not with a lot of noise. But now is a lot of noise because I have to canvass the vote to become, first of all, a candidate for Jubilee,
Yeah.
then become the team leader for the Azimio ticket.
Yeah.
And I'm a great believer in the ideology and philosophies of Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
I have always been. He's resigned like me. He's one of the few. Whoever stepped out of Bunge and said, forget it, I'm going to start a party called NDP. And he started his journey from there.
Yeah.
So in politics, there's something called strategic retreats. You retreat strategically, but then you come back and make a strategic advance. What else can I say about that piece of work? But it's clearly my quietness should not. I would like to apologize if my quietness was taken as haughtiness. But it's really silence. Sure.
And I think as a headhunter, we're launching a show called The Headhunter on KTN, and we're looking at, okay, well, I know you're going to be headhunting for your deputy governor, but the conversation here is in terms of saying that are you going with this blood, sweat, and tears? Because, look, as much as you did not like your job as deputy governor then, Vivo was calling. Came back and said, oh, no, you know what? Afterwards, then, Equity was calling, and now you're leaving another top job. And are you going this blood, sweat, and tears? Because if you don't get this,
You have a plan B.
you have a plan B. You already have a job waiting for you. And in fact, somebody on Twitter joked the other day that I really want to have POLYCARP CV because I think he already has top jobs waiting for him.
That's a really good question. And I hope we are not trivializing success and the effort that goes behind success. And people consider me successful, but I don't think success is a destination. It's a journey. It's truly a journey. And for me, we should also not argue and say that you need to be desperate to become a politician. You need to have nothing else to do to become a politician. I'm speaking to my integrity. I left a political position as deputy governor straight to becoming a senior executive in a bank. You should go and check the due diligence they do for you before you become an executive of a bank. That speaks to my integrity. And also the integrity you undergo before you become a politician. I can only thank God for helping me to stay the course. And I will continue to stay that course. And the last time I applied for your job is this is the second time. The third time I'm applying for a job. I only applied as management trainee in Coca-Cola, and then I applied as deputy governor of Nairobi.
So you've been
and now
headhunted
and now I'm applying as governor,
As governor of
Nairobi.
Nairobi.
And private sector has headhunted me right through. Please ask those people who headhunt me why they headhunt
As
me.
chairman of CAM, as
Actually-
chairman of...
Those are clubs. What you're seeking now is a plebiscite, a completely different ball game. What I'd like to know, I actually consider your ascendance in the positions you've held as remarkable. Not many people can chalk it down that those are the achievements they've had in their lives. If you had one, You'd be shouting from the rooftops, but you've had many. Tell us about what you've done in these organizations to improve the life of the workers whom you have had oversight over.
A really good question. I think in my time at Coca-Cola, I improved the welfare of the people who used to work in the ice plants and in the sales department. I was a manager at the age of 25. I became a CEO at the age of 29 when I took over Hako Industries. I found 700 employees. By the time I left, we were close to 1,600, so I created employment. Every year I've ever worked in Hako, and you can ask them, we paid a bonus from our performance. So my people took home better money. If you go to Vivo, the same. People's livelihoods were changed because of our successful efforts at work. I have always been I'm a leader who's very collaborative and I work with my peers really well, even in where I work. And as I campaign in Nairobi, I think there are a lot of people who will say, these are the pros of POLYCARP and these are the cons of POLYCARP. My life has really been, have been public. And it's because I move the needle. For shareholders, I've done very well for shareholders. I've done very well for employees. And most important, I've done very well for customers. We used to sell I've sold big Byros, I've sold Tusker, in every business I've been, the biggest thing I've done is made a difference for the customer. Because I think if you make a difference for the customer, you make a difference for the management, the employee, and you make a difference for the shareholder. I'm really a customer evangelist. Now, the customer of politics is the voter. And that's really what I've come back to. And that is the respect I had in that place beside. And if the customer loves you, no one will harm you. Businesses look for you, although you're calling them clubs. This plebiscite is also about voters. If voters love you, no one will harm you.
See why I bring that question, why I ask it the way I have, is because the arena of politics puts you in bed with partners whom you haven't chosen. And if it's a city like Nairobi, you're talking about cartels. You're talking about cartels who want to look for business or who control certain sectors of business. You're talking about political cartels who also have their wishes. Now, one of the stumbling blocks that many leaders have experienced in this city has been that. And there is a phrase that we use that the city has its owners. So the county also has its owners. Now, you come in, you will want to see change. I do not doubt that for a single second. You will want to put in governance structures that will work. I do not doubt that for a single second. The politics around what we refer to as cartels or these groupings, because these people don't survive because they are powerful. They survive because they are supported by powerful people.
True that.
Now, this is the wasp's nest that you want to walk into. Your experience, your abilities, your talents in this setup, and the maneuvering and the give and take that the political sphere requires. Tell us how you're going to cope with this.
When I was managing director of Vivo Energy Shell, I was very surprised to encounter what you have just said. When a plot of land owned by that company behind Adam's Arcade Shell, there was 1.5 acres of land that was just stolen. The people who were stealing, we even went and said, listen, you're powerful. Can we offer it to you for sale at market price? And this is the price. And they told us, goodbye.
We have the land.
We have the land and we have the power. That is the day I decided to run for politics. That conversation happened on a Wednesday. And on the Monday, I put my hand down. I said, then politics is really where the power is. And I went and asked.
You also had a life-changing experience in Naivasha.
Correct.
Somebody pulled out a gun on you.
Correct. I had a life-changing experience in Naivasha where I thought, I've always thought, and that's the spiritual side. That's the spiritual side where I really believe I need to do something for my God. He's been too kind to me. If you look at my life, I have to serve him. And by serving him is serving his people. But that's secondary. Primary is exactly what you've asked. Nairobi has its owners, and that's why Nairobi has rotted for 45 years. This is a 45-year problem. It cannot be solved by a confident person and rah. It really needs somebody who can collaborate and bring people together to create solutions for the city. And that's why, if you notice, we've been asking Nairobi mwataka nini. Even now I'm asking mwataka nini. I'm not coming as a face on a billboard looking down on Nairobians and even calling myself governor. Nobody has ever elected me. You know, that level of arrogance surprises. What I'm asking, what do you want? And can I be your servant to deliver what you want? And I'm not afraid of it. I've been in high, if you want to say, high pressure, high tensive roles.
But very different from what you want to get into. Very different.
Absolutely. But there's one thing I'm not. I'm not an armchair politician. I'm not one of these Nairobians and Kenyans who speak in the cocktail circuit and wax lyrical about the problems of their country. I'm bringing my solution. And my solution is to donate my skill, my ability, and let me do my very best for 5 years.
When I gather, what I'm actually asking is, if these individuals who are responsible for the rot that we speak of have the backing of powerful people, can I then assume that you have the backing of even more powerful people?
No, I think you're surrendering your own power to phantoms. I've told you what happened to me with a plot of land. I went to the ballot and asked people. But when I went in, I realized I thought we had a formula in Jubilee. But that formula I retreated out of. And what did we win? The biggest problem in Kenya was this capital city was always in the hands of the opposition party. That has been the case for very many years until the day Sonko IGATHE ticket won Nairobi.
But has it really? I mean, in all honesty.
It has. No, we can do the analysis, but let's start from Kibaki's time. Let's not go even beyond that.
Yes.
The whole of Kibaki's time, Nairobi was in the opposition hands. Uhuru Kenyatta, 15 years. Let's just use that because that's perhaps what a lot of our listeners can even remember. 15 years, it was in the hands of the opposition. The day Nairobi's politics aligned to national politics, Nairobi Metropolitan Service has come, you've started to see a lot of hospitals built. There was a strategic win. Yes, there was a tactical hurdle and error, but there was a strategic win. And this is the thing we also want going for. We would like the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, when he becomes president, to also be politically in charge of the capital city.
But I gather the things you mentioned, like the metropolitan services, aren't they a factor of the lapse of the government that you pulled away from? Because they were created to now start doing things that the county government was supposed to have been doing, but which, unfortunately, were done more in speech than in action. And when the metropolitan services came in, then we actually started seeing things being done.
Absolutely. But with my input, silent. I told you I withdrew. I was only in office for 6 months. And it was to respect Article 1, the power of the people. And I went out with a lot of intelligence. And I'm going to give you a personal copy of the work I did. I'm the one who did the audit, initiated the audit by KPMG on the regime of Governor Kidero and Governor Mweke during assumption of office. I advised Governor Sonko then. I told him, let's draw a line in the sand. Before we even take over anything, let's do that report. If you read that report, the report of the Auditor General, it is seminal, and it has really helped the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Who does the job does not matter as whether the job gets done or not. Really, who does the job? But who does the job matters, because now is a season. It's an open season again for us to go in and campaign. And therefore, I'm asking for your vote. Try me.
Let's take a break. All right. We'll come back with more questions. So, POLYCARP IGATHE, who is the latest entrant into the race for the Jubilee tickets, and then the Azimio tickets for Nairobi governor? We're going to face off with very many others who are coming in as independents, as Kenya Kwanza, even within Jubilee. How many do you have who are you competing against? There are 4 others.
I have 2 contestants in Jubilee right now.
Has Wachira dropped out? Has Anne Kananu dropped out? Has Anne Kagure dropped out?
There are 2.
Has Ngatia dropped out? All those are Jubilee, aren't they?
No, I've said I have 2 others,
Okay.
including myself.
Okay.
And I'm asking Nairobians to come out and vote for me.
Okay.
This is the Situation Room.
We still have with us in the studio POLYCARP IGATHE, who is gunning for the nomination of Jubilee Party to run as Governor of Nairobi City County. Laban-Cliff Onserio is also with us, guest host for the last these 2 hours, alongside Eric Latif and CT Muga. POLYCARP, you're not new to politics of Nairobi. per se. I mean, you ran as deputy governor in the governor's ticket in 2017. So obviously, you took some time to try and understand the politics of the city. You have You've been a business leader in Nairobi, chairman of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Petroleum Institute, and others. So you understand what happens in Nairobi. You're not a stranger to Jerusalem. City asked you a question about cartels. Laban, I'm sure, would have a question about the same. The ills of Nairobi.
Yeah. So there's a question here. I actually got it as a text. A friend of mine just moved from London to Nairobi because they're sitting in the sun, and he said, oh my goodness, there's a lot happening. But 3 months in, it says, Laban, I noticed there's a way of working in Nairobi. There's a way things are done. There are people who supposedly own Nairobi. So flip side, you're a corporate executive. Well, Microsoft Africa just launched one of its research hubs here. Google yesterday just announced that they'll be hiring engineers, researchers in Nairobi, the first research hub of its kind in Africa. So you feel like you have two ends. Maybe that's what attracted my friend to moving from London to Nairobi. That's James. So the question is, POLYCARP, there seems to be a disconnect. You know, when you go into Kimathi Street, when you go into some of the streets, you realize, oh my goodness, there are people who control this town. Then how is your influence as governor going to bridge the gap with all these multinationals who are really keen on investing in Africa, in Nairobi particularly? And again, the mwananchi who says, kuna wenye nchi.
Nairobi iko na wenyewe.
Wow. Thank you very much for that question. And you know, just like Charles Dickens' famous book, Nairobi is a tale of two cities. It's a tale of hope and a tale of despair. And it depends on which side you're sitting in. And I am one person who I believe from my experience and my exposure, I can thread in the hope and despair. And thank you for starting that question with hope. Because what is this foreigners see in Nairobi that we residents don't see? Why do we so self-deprecate so much and immolate? Actually, we self-immolate. We are into self-immolation and we don't believe in ourselves. Do you know this is perhaps the only city in the world with a national park? You get the big five, literally 5 minutes from the CBD. This is the only city with 1,000-acre park forest in its rainforest, in Karura, in Sigiria, in Dagoretti. We are on the equator. We don't have to worry about the snow, earthquakes, and other vagaries of the weather. So there are very many things that attract people to Nairobi. But the thing we need to change is our spirit and our psyche. And also get rid of these fellows who are called cartels. I actually call them, in fact, I've called the contest of August 9th in Nairobi as a contest between the devil's geniuses and God's own fools. You choose which side you're in. The devil's geniuses have had the better of us. They finance people who come into the capital city. They play their games. They harass the youth. They harass the women. They harass, basically that kanjo. It's represented by the word people call kanjo. And I had the opportunity to go into Nairobi City County and work for 6 months. I saw talent there I never imagined I would see. I saw diamonds in the rough, but they have no leadership, nobody to speak to them, for them. Technical competence in transport, technical competence in valuation, in rates. We've got some of the best people, professionals in civil service sitting in Nairobi City County. That I can tell you. And I met them, I encountered them. But their level of frustration with the politics was beyond normal because they've been hard to. So the thing we need to change is, first of all, get serious about the member county assembly we elect. We have 85. This is the largest MCA universe we have. We have 17 constituencies. Nairobi is broken down into 4 boroughs, if I can say. It is Southlands, which consists of Dagoretti North, Dagoretti South, Langata, and Kibra. Then you've got Northlands, which is Embakasi North, Roysambu, Kasarani, Ruaraka. Then you have Nairobi Central, Starehe, Kamukunji, Mathare, Makadara. Yeah. Then you have Eastlands, all the Embakasis, South, West, Central. And if you look at life in Eastlands and life in Central, which also includes Westlands, despair, hope. When you look, you start to, if you go into certain places, you start to see where the pockets of hope and despair. Actually, Nairobi still remains with the colonial vestiges. Where the colonialists live, people continue to live well. Where the Africans live, people continue to live well. And this is what we have to bring together. But you cannot do that if you are not a collaborator. The biggest skill here is collaboration, listening, and a humble self-confidence, and a thick skin and a light touch.
Are you saying, therefore, that you're going to collaborate with these cartels that have been running Nairobi for 45 years? You're going to have a handshake with them, negotiation with them on how they can allow you to do a bit of work as you allow them
And
to continue doing their work?
Thank you for clearing the air on that. I'm not going to collaborate with them. They are the people I resigned from. I did not resign from Nairobi because I realized the cartels walked in very quickly when we came to office, and I withdrew. And they're the ones making the biggest noise. They've gone to the highest levels of our parties to tell our party leaders, POLYCARP will abandon you in week 2. Because those cartels never financed me. I never accepted a shilling for their campaigns. Neither will I accept this time round. I'm putting them on notice that here comes a man who, with the power of God, the power of the people, which is usually the power of God, is going to do his very best together with a team. Because I was asked the question, I will make a choice. I was never consulted when the cabinet was formed the last time. It was formed by those cartels. Our own party, which should nominate, Nairobi has nominated member county assemblies who should help the governor also, together with the elected ones. I was never consulted. That's when I knew the same cartels of 40 years ago have come back.
So the cartels were not only in City Hall, they were also in Jubilee.
No, of course. They are in our party and we have to get rid of them. I'm pronouncing to my party as a member of the party that I'm going to be an infusion of oxygen into the Jubilee party. And I'm going to promote Jubilee across the country. This is the party of Uhuru Kenyatta, the party of the people of Kenya, the party that is the party of handshake with ODM. You know, this is the party that has an addiction to peace. This is a party that has an addiction to infrastructure. That's the real addiction. And this is the party that has said we are not going to put a presidential candidate. We go for the peace addict, the ideologue, the king of Kenya's politics, the captain of our politics called Raila Amolo Odinga, and we are not putting a presidential candidate. And I'm telling Nairobians, please elect me and elect Raila Amolo Odinga.
There's something that you said, POLYCARP, which is that you, even after leaving City Hall, after resigning from City Hall, you still continue to pull strings on how Nairobi is governed. True?
Sure.
And then you also said that you participated in seeing the Nairobi Metropolitan Services established and run Nairobi City County.
I didn't participate. I provided input through my networks. I'm a deeply, widely networked individual in the city of Nairobi.
Okay.
And having come from a political seat, I gave my feedback. I presented the audit reports. I wrote my own reports. You must remember, I was appointed by our party leader to become the chairman of Nairobi Regeneration Committee immediately after elections. That committee started meeting the afternoon after we were sworn in Uhuru Park. We went and presented our case to the president. And the framework I presented has become the framework of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services.
Someone would ask the question, then is POLYCARP IGATHE behind the frustration that Mike Sonko went through that even saw him get impeached?
No, I'm not behind that. I stepped out and Governor Sonko remains my friend. I always said it is me who failed to earn the trust of Governor Sonko. Never did I in public, and I don't ever blame Governor Sonko. I campaigned for him. And because I campaigned for him, I kept quiet like every intelligent, wise person does. You don't campaign for somebody, then 2 days later, you're criticizing him. You see the wars between governors and deputy. We never fought any single day. I resigned as a matter of principle. And the people I resigned from know I have come back. And they're the ones who would like status quo to continue because they've continued to move. And I'm telling Nairobians, help me. Let us go to the ballot together. Let's go as residential association together and we work.
We agree to help you. I am looking at your track record. You see, there are two ways of interpreting your track record. One where you've moved from strength to strength, or one where you easily move. So the question I would ask is, let's take the view that you actually win the seat that you're seeking. What guarantees do we have that you will not move again and do something else?
That you'll not give in to the cartel?
Yes, when things get genuinely hot, how do we know you will not move?
You know, when things got really hot was when I moved out because they wanted to continue stealing and blame it on me. And when I saw what I saw, I gave a lot of information, I gave a lot of intelligence to the powers that be, and thank God, Nairobi is in the hands of Nairobi Metropolitan Services. And I can assure you, I'm coming for a 5-year stint. My movement, life is about movement. Life is dynamic. Show me. We are growing older every day. Each one of us is celebrating a new birthday. What stands still? It's only a dead rock. If you're alive, you're moving. And I'm going to move for 5 years working for the people of Nairobi.
And what constantly moves?
Yeah.
And what does it achieve by constantly moving?
A river, it flows to the sea. A branch, a tree. You must be anti-nature and irreligious to fight movement. It's just not natural.
You say you're locking your term for this.
I'm locking my term for 5 years. I'm asking for a job for 5 years. And why am I asking for a job for 5 years? Because that is the term determined by the law as enough for somebody to actually contribute and serve. I am coming to serve. I've been an employee all my life. Look at my competitors. They are business people involved in real estate, involved in
healthcare,
and other tenders. You need to be very afraid giving political power to, especially in Nairobi, to a businessman who does business with government or a businessman who does business in real estate. Beware. I am an employee. I'm asking to be employed by you. I will live off my salary like I have ever lived. I'm stepping down from even a higher. It's a sacrifice I'm taking. But that's my contribution. Just contribute by voting for me and contribute by giving me ideas. It's not a joke when I ask Nairobi mwataka nini. It is such a serious question that I'm going to collect manifestos across the country that becomes the stuff that forms the county integrated development plan. Then that becomes the budget and we start to roll out. And hold me to account month on month, quarter on quarter, because that's all I know.
So
I come from that
Are
background.
you telling us that you are actually going to have in place this elusive concept that we've all talked about? An understanding with your people based on a structure, based on timelines, based on achievable goals. So we can say, when IGATHE told us in year one,
milestone number 1,
yes,
by March,
all those fast-growing grasses that Kidero didn't grow, they're actually going to put them in place. So when we get to August, the end of August, the grass will have grown. Are you going to actually have a contract with us that we can hold you to account for?
I welcome that. I welcome that you present that to me because that has been my life. All my life, and what has made me move and be headhunted by organizations is I always work to a performance contract and a scorecard. And that scorecard says we want the profit and loss account to be like this, we want the balance sheet to be like this, we want the customers to be like this, and I'm appraised every time. I've always, the worst appraisal I've ever gotten in my career is above average. I've always been outstanding and above average, and I can present those papers when you're ready.
POLYCARP, have you had
And I want to assure Nairobians that I believe you'll give me above average
at the
and
very
outstanding
worst.
at the very worst.
Have you handed in your resignation at your current employment?
Say that again?
Have you handed in your resignation at your current employment?
At Equity.
Yes, I've stepped down from my role.
What does your boss, Dr. James Mwangi, former boss now, say about you?
First of all, James Mwangi is a dear friend. He was a dear friend, and James Mwangi gave me 7 appointment letters before I accepted the 7th one to join Equity. I am so fortunate in my life that I have learned on the table and I've sat on the shoulders of giants like Dr. James Mwangi. He's an absolute giant. I've never seen a genius of his type. He's obviously disappointed I've chosen to go back to public life because in his view, we can transform lives and livelihoods, even in banking, more than we can do in business. But I've told him, James, I'm continuing with the mission, but in a different in a different side. I was taken in by Chris Kirubi, who's such a dear friend of mine. He even ended up becoming my father, according to Kenyans. But we were such good friends, God bless his soul. He taught me. Like one of the biggest lessons I learned from Chris Kirubi, and I'm going to exercise in Nairobi, is if you want to know the quality of a management of any organization or institution, go to the toilet where workers go. You don't need to be told the quality of management beyond that. I call it the toilet test. Now you walk into the toilets of Nairobi City County or City Annex, or walk into the toilet of any public
I
office.
think you start by saying, dare walk.
Dare walk into the toilets of even a ministry. Where workers go, not where the big PSS, CSs go. That's the stuff I'm bringing today. I'm bringing basics. clean toilets, pedestrianized pathways,
Okay.
water and sewer, traffic that works, people who are listened to, residents associations who have access to their governor. They don't just see him, and really listened to and told the truth, how you can live together as a community. What Nairobi requires is common sense. To be honest, Nairobi does not, and that common sense allows us to then create a city that kills the level of despair that young people have. By the way, look at the whole of Eastlands. Give you another example. The whole of Eastlands, there are no title deeds. The title deeds started after Jubilee came to power. If you go to Mehango, Utawala, Eastlands, Tena, these people don't have title deeds.
Why?
Because of cartels in the Ministry of Lands. Not giving, people have been sitting on allotment, and as a consequence, nobody bothers to even plant a tree.
Was that government land
If you go
originally?
no, it's not. This is land holding companies.
Precisely.
Like Embakasi. But fact is, we will come and discuss
Because
land
they
on its
don't own their land.
Because you don't have land ownership.
You don't develop it.
By the way, look, take a photo by helicopter in Nairobi. Where people have title deeds, it's green. Where people don't have title deeds, no pride. No pride of ownership, pride of ownership. And those are the things that Nairobians want. Give them title. And when you give title deeds, I know I'm a former banker, a title deed is collateral.
It's money.
For a loan. Collateral for a loan is business. Business is jobs. And that is a cycle.
I want to conclude
That's
this.
why I want to repeat and say, Eric, vote for me.
I want to conclude the conversation with just the politics of the next 2 weeks. All right. Number one, we know that Jubilee is not taking people through universal suffrage nomination. So what's your strategy on that? And then the second one, your choice of running mate.
That's why I've come out loud and clear that I'm a candidate, because there's been a lot of talk about it. So our party members are using the avenues and channels we are using to actually say, with IGATHE is the right candidate for Nairobi. And Nairobi in IGATHE clarion call is everywhere in the ground. So that's number one. The second question you asked,
Running mate?
the question of running mate is an Azimio la Umoja conversation. It is a parley that is sitting, and by end of day tomorrow, it will be decided. The candidates are already known. The formula is already decided. Let me not disclose it on radio. But before end of day tomorrow, I think that will be done. Or end of day this week, that will be determined. I will have a deputy governor who I can assure will have the best time in life, because I was a deputy governor once. and I can also assure the senator will be part of our team. The woman rep is also going to be part of our team. But Azimio la Umoja is ODM, Wiper,
Jubilee, and other parties.
And other parties, those being the lead party. But please do not forget, Raila Amolo Odinga, President of Kenya, POLYCARP IGATHE, Governor of Nairobi, and Kenya will never be the same again.
Asante sana. POLYCARP, thank you very much for coming. You'll come again as the campaigns hit up, and then we'll have people asking you questions.
Thank you very much for
and
having
you
me.
responding to people.
Thank you very much for having me, and I apologize again to Nairobians for being late. And
So
to
no
you.
more golf now.
I have
No,
never,
the
I have
captain-
never
that
played
captain
golf.
should be-
If you tell,
He runs.
if you tell any captain of a golf club that I play golf, they will laugh. Even my handicap was taken away. I play golf on the 19th. There I parked farm and
That's it.
straight.
Thank you for tuning in to Kenya
Thank you
Biggest
very much,
Conversation. Join us again tomorrow morning.